92 to 95. He's not going to blow up by hitters every single pitch like some of the greats like Nolan Ryan. We just threw that 106-mile-an-hour one. So he's going to have to learn some off-speed pitches. And last year, that slider, he hung it over, and that's where the inconsistency came, because when that slider wasn't moving enough, he went just right back to that fastball, which then got rocked, and he went to the changeup, which kind of hung over the plate, which got rocked. So hopefully that when he fine-tunes those breaking pitches, he's still young, he's plenty of time, hopefully that he'll be very good this year.
I think Papelbon will be, good this year. Not great, but good. But as for Daniel Bard, I think he'll have a great season this year. And for the five-man rotation, for the starters, I think that Lackey and Beckett will have pretty good years. Not amazing.
We do say this every year, though, and
Matsuzaka, please go back to Japan. Your services are no longer needed here in Boston. Just please leave. But Buchholz and Nestor, I think this year will have outstanding years. Buchholz had a great year last year. Towards the end of the season, it sort of got worse. Lester had a pretty good year this year. He was in the Cy Young nomination. So I think that those two pitchers will have a great year this year.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Papelbon definitely needs to work on being more consistent. We saw earlier in his career he was the guy that we could rely on, and then last season you saw he was always getting, he was always blowing saves. He was always getting hit for multiple home runs and things like that. So it is good that he reported a little bit early. I think the Red Sox should have made a couple of moves for their pitching, because last year we saw they had hitting. They had all right hitting, but the pitching was really where they struggled majorly. And I think that if they had made some more pitching moves, they could be seriously taken for the World Series. But I think they're a good team, but they definitely need to work on their pitching, both their five-man rotation and the bullpen.
Yeah. Well, one acquisition that the Sox did make in the offseason was relief pitcher Dan Wheeler. How do you guys think he'll fit in with this Boston team in his first year?
He's going to give the bullpen more rest, which the bullpen was lacking last year. A lot of rest, and they were overworked. That's why they got more shaky towards the end of the year. Wheeler's going to be a good setup man, maybe close some games with Bard when Papelbon's services are not needed, when a big game or a blowout, or hopefully not, but if they are losing by a fair amount, then it will be a good experience, because last year, if anything's close, it was Papelbon, Bard. Now you throw Wheeler in, save these young arms for the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Wheeler will definitely bring some more rest, which the pitchers were highly overworked last year. I think that's one of the reasons why Papelbon got tired a lot of games, because definitely more games than last year. He pitched a lot more games, which I think affected his pitching. And I do agree he'll bring some relief. He'll have a good year. Bard, I think, will be the main reliever, but I agree that Wheeler will be good.
I think Bard could overpass Papelbon in a few years.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think Wheeler's a good acquisition, but I don't see a humongous difference, because bullpen pitchers, they don't normally come in and make a humongous difference. I do think it's a good way to give the bullpen some rest and just add an extra arm in case the bullpen starts to break down. But I don't see a humongous difference between bullpens.
All you need is a couple 3-and-outs, and you're good.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually think this could make a huge difference, because if you can take some pressure off your starting pitchers with a consistent reliever like Dan Wheeler, throw that on top of Daniel Bard, who was really good last year, and if you can take some pressure off of Papelbon, maybe he'll do a little better, and that could make the pitching staff as a whole much better.
Definitely.
And now the Red Sox losing, and we move over to the other side, the catchers, just really quick. Losing Victor Martinez, the Red Sox this year, how do they handle the catching position for this year?
It's hard, because you still have Veritek. You have some younger guys. I said you want to find your guy, but you also want to mix in some experience and have some guys play in Pawtucket, have them play a few games. But whatever the starting five want more, that's the guy who you really want to go with, because you want a guy who's calling the pitches, the pitchers trust. He's going to call. He knows my game. He knows the hitter's game. He's been watching the film, and that's the guy you want to go with.
Yeah, Braveheart. Braveheart. Sorry, what were we talking about? That's so weird. I'm so sorry.
Catcher.
Braveheart So actually, there's this guy, Saltamalakia, I believe I pronounced his last name right.
Saltamalakia.
Yeah, thank you. He was supposed to be good in Atlanta, didn't turn out to be good, and now the Red Sox got him, and I believe he'll be the starting catcher. I think he'll have a pretty decent year with the Sox. Not a super amazing year, but I think Varitek will help, give him some more experience and better playing.
Okay. Adam?
I think just to kind of bring back the point that Ben said, I think they're going to probably go with the guy that the pitchers trust more, and I think that's Jason Varitek because he's been there for so long. Although his hitting may be subpar at times, he is the main point of a catcher is to make sure that no balls get behind him, and to call appropriate pitches for the pitchers, and the pitchers really trust Varitek because over the years he's
called a few no-hitters and
Yeah.
a few nice games.
yeah.
All right, well, for now, we're going to send it over to Max and Kunal, and they're going to talk about all kinds of sports issues. Max, Kunal, take it away.
Hello and welcome to K-Sports Sunday. I'm Max Kleiman here in Kunal's Corner with our West Coast correspondent Kunal. We're going to be talking about the NBA team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, finally breaking their 26-game losing streak, the Red Sox chances at winning the World Series this year, and the NFL's labor dispute. So we'll start with the Cavaliers. So Kunal, you watched the game yesterday. They beat the Clippers in overtime. What did you think of the game in general?
No, I mean, the Cavs, I think they got lucky because they were playing another bad team. I mean, the Clippers team can beat some good teams once in a while, but they're just like the Cavs. I mean, they've got one or two star players who are going to be good in a few years, like Blake Griffin and J.J. Hickson, and they just got lucky, but they played better than they have, and they finally carried out through the full game and didn't let go in the last 2 minutes because in the last few games, they've been leading with 5 to 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, but then they've lost it, and that's what's been influencing the 26-game losing streak.
Well, the Cavs were tied at the end of the game, and the Clippers threw up a last-second shot, and it looked like it could have been goaltending or a clean block by J.J. Hickson. What do you think of that play?
No, I think it was a great hustle play because Baron Davis clearly beat him, but Hickson came back and made a monstrous block, and they reviewed it, and it was no goaltending, which was a good call, that was the play that really, I think, gave them the energy to go into overtime and win. And the Cavs, I think they need to put all the teams into overtime because they're undefeated in overtime. In games, they're 2-0.
Yeah, and they ended up beating the Celtics earlier this year in a back-to-back game against the Heat, so that's one of their big wins this year. So let's move on to the Red Sox now. They have easily the best-looking team on paper in the major leagues, but in real life, we don't know if their pitching, Josh Beckett and John Lackey and Jonathan Papelbon, can bounce back from down years. What do you think of their chances to win the World Series this year?
Well, if their pitching staff comes through, they'll definitely have a big shot at it because our offense is great right now. The Red Sox offense is great. They've got Pedroia back, Youkilis is healthy, Carl Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez. Maybe Poppy will have another okay year. And we have a lot of hitters on our team, which is going to help us a lot. But our pitching staff needs to come through. Beckett had an okay last year. And Lester had a great year. I think he only had 6 losses and lots of wins and a good ERA. And I think he needs to keep that up. And Beckett and Lackey keep improving if they want to have a big shot at the title.
Well, you mentioned Beckett and Lackey. They were both had mediocre years last year. Which one of them do you think will bounce back more to help the Red Sox this season?
I think Beckett will have a good season this year because he'll be more healthy. He had a few injuries with his finger last year, and I think he'll be healthy. And if he stays healthy, he'll have a good year, not a great year like Lester will. And we also have Buckholz, which I think he's a young star, and he will be better this year.
And lastly, about the Red Sox, what do you think of the whole closing situation? Because Jonathan Papelbon had a bad year last year. They went out and kept Daniel Bard. They signed Bobby Jenks and Dan Wheeler, some other top relievers. Also, Bobby Jenks, a former closer. Is this all of a plan for when Papelbon leaves at the end of the year, or do they intend to have somebody else be the closer this season?
I think they're going to try Papelbon for the first few months, and if he's playing better and not allowing runs in the 9th inning, then they'll keep him until he starts to slump like he did last year, and then Bobby Dinks will come in. But I think the pitchers will go to the 6th, maybe Okajima in the 7th or 8th, Jenks for a few outs if they need him, and then they put in Papelbon in the 9th, and hopefully he can have a better year than last year.
Well, let's move on to the NFL right now. There's been a huge labor dispute going on. The deadline is March 4th for the current CBA, and it doesn't look like anything's happening. Every time the players and the owners meet, it just looks like they're moving further apart, and they've stopped their meetings for a while now. Do you think there's any hope of getting the deal done by March 4th?
Oh, well, I hope, and America hopes, but I think that they will get this deal done, and I think it will be 18 games because they need those last 2 weeks, which will get them maybe like $300 million from all the tickets they sell. And I think if they have the 18-game season, lots of people will be happy. But if they don't have even a season, that would be terrible. Because what would you do on Sundays? I mean, in half of the country, it's freezing cold, and you'll just be sitting at home. But like here, you could be playing golf and stuff. But it would be
Well, Kunal, do you think that the NFL will miss any games this season, or will the dispute be done long before the season starts?
No, I think they'll actually come through with it. And with the 18-game season, they're going to reduce the spring training for 2 games, which will give them the same amount of games that they had this year and the years before.
Well, last question about this. Which side do you think caves first? Do you think the owners just decide they'll leave it as it is and they'll just let the players play? Or will the players say, fine, we want to play, we'll give some of the money back as you want? Which side do you think caves?
I think the players will give the money back just because they want to play the game. I mean, that's their life. I don't think they can get a job anywhere else, and they need to play this game to support their family, and they're good at it, and they can't find that much talent anywhere else because the rest of the world doesn't really play football. And I think the players may be willing to give back $1 or $2 million of their dollars or of their salary each year because they're still going to make around $20 million, which is a lot of money.
Well, thanks a lot, Kunal. We will be right back. That's all we have from Kunal's Corner. But stick around on K-Sports Sunday. We'll be right back after this.
All right, Max and Kunal, thanks so much for that. All right, we're going to send it to a break for now, but when we come back, Max Block and I will be talking sports issues ourselves, and then we'll have Pardon the Englanders, and you don't want to be missing that, so stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Julia from YBA. For the past few years, I've been coming to the YBA training studios once a week or so. I'm so excited that now I'll be able to practice my broadcast skills with YBA Online. The new course has so much more than what we have learned at the studio. You can practice your delivery by recording a video with a simple click. You can even use a teleprompter to practice reading off that. I learned about the history of the industry and some of the greatest names in the business. You know what though? It was really a lot of fun. And there are some really funny videos, like the one of Jimmy Young doing his crazy warm-up exercises.
The next thing we want you to do is actually stretch the facial muscles in your face, which is a good place for facial muscles.
Or the one from Friends, and of course, all those crazy tongue twisters.
Betty Botter bought a bit of butter.
The butter Betty Botter bought was a bit bitter.
And made her batter bitter.
But a bit of better butter bought batter better.
So Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter, making Betty Botter's bitter batter better.
Best of all, though, I can practice my writing and reading from home on my schedule. And I can get coaching from one of the many professional broadcasters on staff. YBA Online allows me to learn by doing the job of a broadcaster every day if I want to. And you will have all the tools. For now, I'm Julia reporting about YBA Online.
Excuse the interruption, but I'm Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan.
And I'm Max Block.
And we're going to get started with our show right now. All right, so Max, the Cavaliers just ended their losing streak at 26 games with an overtime win over the Clippers. So do you think they're going to amass another 20-plus game losing streak
Nah.
before the season ends?
This is a turning point. The Clippers are not that bad a team, to tell you the truth. They got Blake Griffin.